Hey besties. So I'm trying something a little bit different today. So this year ever since I started this channel, I've always wanted to make, well, not ever since I started this channel. For the longest time, I'd say since at least 2019, I've always wanted to make worst list videos for my channel as well as my best list. Because I remember when I started the channel, I was in that mood of like, oh, I want to spread positivity, so I'm just gonna do a best list and not do a worst list, especially because like 2018 happened to be a really dour year for pop music, especially in retrospect. But as time goes on, I feel like I'm kind of missing out if I don't do a worst list. Like, for one, like, they get the most views, like I think everyone knows that. But two, more importantly, I feel like it's still useful to have a video where you kind of dump all of your like negative criticism, just because it kind of gives you a more open, not open, but like like a wider view of the kind of your actual opinions on music. Because like if you just talk about all the time about what music you like, it's a bit like like it's not like a bad thing, like it's definitely worse if you just talk about all the music you hate and then never talk about the music that you like. But like I feel like it just gives you a more holistic picture of what you appreciate in music, because sometimes you need to look at stuff that doesn't work in order to really appreciate the stuff that does work. And like I feel like it's just something that I've been wanting to do, just to spread my horizons a little bit, and also like give some more views to my channel, because frankly like I don't actually care that much about the views that I get, because like otherwise I would have sold myself out a long time ago. But like it gets a bit lonely. So you might be wondering what I'm doing with this relatively informal setup. I've got my iPad in front of me. I don't even have a script in front of me. I'm just using this as just vague reference. So essentially what I've wanted, wait, I've already, oh my god. Okay, so basically, in short summary, what I wanted to do is just to make this very impromptu worst list video, because I've already, like, the songs of interest video that I did for the fall, that already took up like a bunch of time. And like usually I'd work on my year-end videos around like the middle of November to the start of December, and like, but that, like, this time it just couldn't work out because like I had a bunch of other responsibilities, and I was feeling I had a bunch of crap to deal with towards the end of the year. So at this point, like, I didn't really have much time left to work on this stuff. So, and like I really wanted to make a worst list video, but I just couldn't really find the time to do it. So I decided that I might as well just do like just something really impromptu, just spit out my thoughts. Fuck, like, who cares about the fucking quality of it? Just let you know my thoughts. Just let's see what happens, So yeah, I've got this iPad in front of me. It doesn't even have a script. I'm just looking at it for reference, and I'm also recording the audio, so I probably shouldn't touch it. So I'm gonna talk about I already ranked the Billboard year-end list for this year, and I'm just going off like the bottom 10 for this year. I also have like two other songs that I wanted to talk about that didn't make the top 10 necessarily, but I still wanted to like highlight. So 2021 was frankly a fantastic year. At least or at the very least, like, it had a lot of fantastic hits. Like, I'll talk about it more in the best list, but it was so hard picking songs for that list, just because all 10 of those songs are fucking bangers. Like, every year, like, it takes a while to like, some years it's hard to really fill out a full best list of songs that like I really, really wholeheartedly love. Like, I remember like 2018, for example, like that list, if you go back to watch that video, the songs don't start getting like top tier until maybe like the top 5, I want to say. Like, I don't even remember what song that is. Just like, whatever that song is, that's probably it. I think it was like, I don't know, whatever. So, but like this year it was like, I think this was the first year that I had to really like cut stuff from that list, because like all those songs are bangers, and like like cutting off a song from that list was really like killing off like a child for me. Like like those songs are fantastic, but I'll get to that another time. And like, you know, like along with that, for this year, there just wasn't any bad music this year, frankly speaking. Like, just like pretty much my top 10, like the entirety of it, like wouldn't I maybe like two of these songs I'd call bad, like if I was really pushing it. So I like you know, I have like a 3 out of 5 on this list, so it's like, you know, like just take this with a grain of salt. I'm not even gonna like try and fake any anger about any of these songs, because, you know, these are just my bottom 10. Like, it's whatever, you know. Okay, well, should probably get to the list. I've already been recording for 6.5 minutes. Jesus Christ. Okay, so number 10 is Glad You Exist by Dan and Shay. I'm just so glad you exist. So, I don't have any... This is not a bad song, you know? Like, it's 2.5 minutes of just straight cheese, you know? Like, and I mean straight cheese as in, like, straight up cheese, but also just very heterosexual cheese. You know, it's like, there's, I don't know, there's really nothing to be upset about this song for me. Like, it just does not bother me whatsoever. If I really pushed it, it's just kind of very, like, you know, it's just kind of plotting and just a bit too, like, cheesy, and kind of makes you want to hurl, but it never really does that for me. It's just, there's so many other worse songs, even in the vein of, like, modern, what they call boyfriend country. Like, you know, like I think, like, the worst trait of that genre at this point is sort of the, well, not just the insincerity, but so you get the impression that these guys are clearly like, these guys, like, some of these guys are horny as shit, and like they try to rein that in as much as possible, when, like, because, like, the whole objective of this genre is to, like, make the girl feel as special and loved as possible. But, like, you know, some of these songs, like, I think, like, Dan and Shay is also kind of guilty of this. I don't remember which song it is, but, you know, like, it's essentially like, you know how, like, you know, body on, what was it? Body Like a Back Road, there we go. Like, you know, remember, you know how Body Like a Back Road is like, you know, like, your body's like, you know, curvy and like a back road. I want to fuck you like a back road or whatever. Like, you know, like that's like how horny that song is, how, like, the guy's clearly trying to, like, you know, just come after this, like, just like this guy's just thirsting for the girl. You know, like, a lot of boyfriend country I've heard is essentially like that, except, like, you know, like the guy has the same feeling of just horniness, but they're trying to channel it in such a way that it's trying to sound romantic. But, you know, you can kind of tell the game here. So they'll be like, they'll fixate a lot on, like, the girl's looks, you know, like, oh, you look so beautiful in that wedding dress. And, like, rather than, like, substantiating that, like, you know, like, songs like that, you know, like Perfect by Ed Sheeran, for example, you kind of substantiate that with, like, oh, like, you know, the fucking, you know, like, you substantiate that with, like, oh, I love you so much, and you look so beautiful in that wedding dress, and it makes me so emotional because I'm just picturing my life with you, and, you know, stuff like that, you know, and it works. But, you know, with these guys, it's like, they see the wedding dress, they just see something that they're like, I'm fucking horny, but I can't say it, so I'm just gonna say how beautiful you look constantly and say nothing else because I don't actually feel that much else for you here, you know. And, like, Dan and Shay don't have this problem here. It's just, I'm glad you exist. That's literally the message of the song. I went on that whole tirade about boyfriend country. It's not even remotely relevant. This is the kind of content you're going for here. This is the kind of content that you can expect with this video. So, like, yeah, like, I don't know. Like, what I'm trying to say is, like, Glad You Exist doesn't even make those, like, cardinal sins of the genre. It's just kind of boring and cheesy. But it's not even that bad to me. So, yeah, that's number 10. So number 9 is Put Your Records On by Rit Mommy. Girl, put your records on. Tell me your favorite song. I've said my piece before in the spring video that essentially, like, it's, to me, like, you know, I've since last year, like, people are already, like, talking about how awful this song is, and, you know, like, I don't blame them. Excuse me. I don't blame them at all, but, like, I don't know. To me, like the production's honestly like totally fine. I think it still sort of captures that like nice vibe of Put Your Records On in sort of like a different way. Uh, like really, the only issue with this song is just the whole like, which is like, to be fair, it's like a really big issue that comes with this song. It's kind of cast, like I already said before in my spring ranking video, that this song like the like this issue casts a whole shadow over the whole song. The issue of, you know, Rit Mommy, a white man, covering Corinne Bailey Rae, a black woman. And not just that, like, you know, the fact that Put Your Records On is already a song that's, you know, very much about sort of like the experience of like a young black woman. Like, you know, obviously, as I cannot really speak to that experience, but you know, like from it's obvious that she's trying to be like, in the original, she's trying to be sort of like a sense of comfort for that. And like, you know, just it's her as another, like a young black woman kind of speaking to her fellow young black women to say like, hey, you know, you shouldn't be expected to conform to the standard of, you know, the white ideal or whatever. And you know, you can just you should be allowed to just be who you are and be comfortable in your own self. You know, let like, what was the lyric again? Like, you know, gotta love that Afro hairdo, you know, like it's beautiful as it is. And from Corinne Bailey Rae, a young black woman who's gone through the struggle that comes with that, you know, especially in like mid 2000s England, or I believe she's from England, you know, where, like, you know, that's the experience that she comes from. And, you know, it's a very empathetic and loving tribute to her fellow people, you know. And it's like, for Rit Momney to come in, even if unintentionally, you know, to sort of come in and kind of just say these words verbatim without really considering what they really are for, you know, you know, especially, you know, just it's like, not only is it like, you know, like not completely not his place to really say these words, but it also kind of, you know, it feeds into this whole idea, like, you know, like the expectations that are placed on young black women, they're from white men specifically. So for a white man to completely co-opt those words, like especially completely verbatim, you know, it's like, no matter what, you know, it's gonna be a very uncomfortable thing for the audience that this song was originally meant for. So, you know, it's like, no matter how much fluff you sort of dress it up in, no matter how good your intention is, you know, the fact of the matter is that that's just kind of what the outcome is going to be. And, you know, like obviously I can't speak for this guy, but, you know, like, you know, it seems like he kind of eventually understood what he did, and, you know, encouraged people to stream the original. But, you know, like, the song was already out, and, like, you know, to my knowledge, like, he released the song independently, but he eventually, like, gave it to a big record label by the time that all this came out. So, like, you know, like, it's not, I don't know if he could have really, like, you know, for example, like, taken down the song down or anything like that. But, you know, like he was in a position to sort of gain from it. So it's like, the damage was done, basically. And I don't think he's, like, a bad person, but the song is just a really uncomfortable thing to sort of, like, you know, to sort of, like, even think about, let alone listen to. But, you know, it's pretty low on my list just because, you know, like, aside from that, like, the song still sounds, it's still Put Your Records On, you know, like, it's still a beautiful song. And, like, you know, like, it's just, I don't know, like, it's a vibe, but it's just a very uncomfortable vibe, I guess. So that's why it's there. Okay, number 8 is Time Today by Moneybagg Yo.
I just looked at my wrist, I got time today. Fuck it, I'm crossing the line today.
I literally do not, I'm trying to remember the song right now, and I'm just thinking of Said Some, you know, like that song. I do not remember this song, frankly, off the top of my head. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess the one thing I can say is that Moneybagg Yo has been kind of a relatively easy punching bag these past couple years, and like I just don't have enough investment in him to really say one way or the other. Like, and like honestly, like the first time I heard Said Some, I thought it was actually pretty good. Like he sounded like a pretty good rapper. To be fair, I mainly heard the Said Some remix, which didn't include the COVID line that I kept hearing about. But like that didn't really, so it didn't really sour my impression on Moneybagg Yo. Yeah, I don't know, like Time Today, like I think I put it here just because it's just kind of Said Some too. Like I don't know, like he had another hit, Waukesha, which I think was a little bit more interesting. Like I like that a bit more, just because like it's him at least attempting something a bit more interesting. Like the whole like lean as a like women as a metaphor for lean or whatever. I don't know. It's I don't really know. It's kind of weird to really think about, but like at the very least, it's a more ambitious attempt at something, which I appreciate from Moneybagg Yo, considering that he's mainly known at this point for just very simple rap. Yeah, I don't know. Like I really have nothing against this song or this guy. Moving on. Okay, number 7. Your Mind Still by Young Blue featuring Drake.
Don't go build a life without me, 'cause your mind still.
So yeah. Okay, so what I'm reading here is the summary that I was gonna put in my best list video, cause like I did for like 2019 and 2020. So what I wrote here is that basically in the past there's been a tendency to lump all these like fuck women and fuck women adjacent songs into a pile and just call them all terrible. And while I feel that instinct is I still feel that instinct because I just don't have the patience for sentiments like that. I don't think it does anyone any favors to just dismiss all of them outright. I don't feel anything for the song's content, but it's at least got a nice guitar, and Young Blue maintains the vibe pretty well. So that's what I wrote, and yeah, essentially like I don't know, like I've been kind of feeling a bit weird about all these like like the songs that kind of like all these like like hip hop songs that have this sort of like misogynist slant to it, like the stuff that was like stuff like whatever XXXTentacion put out, and like stuff like Lucid Dreams or without, or like I don't know, or like stuff like that. Like I don't know, because it's like on one hand, like my initial reaction is always like I don't have use for this song. Frankly, these are pretty ugly things to put out, and more often than not, I don't really know, like like it's not. But the thing is, like it's not really always a bad thing, which not great for me to say, but I don't know. Like certain songs you kind of see, and like I guess like I can't think of many great examples right now, but I like the first thing I'm thinking of is like "Stay" by the Kid Laroi, because like you look at the lyrics of that song and like they're not great, but it's like you can kind of sense that the misogyny, like I don't know, like it's like just sort of the uglier aspects aren't really the point, and like a reasonable person would listen to that song and they wouldn't really they wouldn't really process it that negatively. So it's like I don't know, but this is something that I've been really thinking about a fair bit, and like I haven't really been able to articulate it in the best of times, so trying to say it off the cuff is not great, but I don't know, what I'm trying to get at is that Your Mind Still doesn't seem like the worst example of this kind of thing. And like it's not it's a bit ugly, but it's like it's not the worst thing ever. I don't know, it's like yeah, like I don't know, like I wrote down here, it doesn't really do any favors to just dismiss them outright, because like I don't know, it's there's layers to it. Sometimes it's really that bad, sometimes it's a bit like it's kind of just window dressing for a song, just to kind of like give the straight boys something to feed off of, because like God knows they apparently need more, I guess. I don't know, just it I listen to this and it's like it kind of just rolls off my shoulders, but it still sounds pretty nice at least. So I don't know. It's all right. Next is Track Star by Mooski.
She's a runner, she's a track star. She gon' run away when it gets hard.
Which I think it's kind of the same thing, but kind of worse, because like, not in the. I mean, I don't know. Like here, it's just not a very nice sounding song. Like, the production is kind of like, it's pretty sparse, but it's also kind of stilted. Like, it just kind of like plods very awkwardly throughout the entire runtime, and like, Mooski himself, like, I mean, like, I'll give him credit, like, his performance is pretty memorable, at least, like, it's kind of iconic, like, just the way his voice sounds, especially on the hook, but, like, it's just kind of hard to really sustain throughout the whole song, and, like, just sort of, like, the contradictions in the lyrics and all that, it's just not a very pleasant experience, but, it's still not horrible, Okay, next is... we're at number 5 now. The next is Without You by the Kid Laroi.
Left it without you.
Which, yeah, I mean, like, I don't know. Like, I remember when I talked about it in the spring, I wanted to be pretty careful with it, because, like, I think the way people, like, we talk about the Kid Laroi in general, like, I think we try to be a bit careful, because, he came up as, like, Juice WRLD's protege, which I still don't entirely understand how that works exactly, but, apparently that's sort of the story, and, it's like considering the story of Juice WRLD, how he came up, how we sort of, like, treated him, and, like, him passing away in, like, late 2019, and the whole reevaluation that sort of came with that, like Juice WRLD's whole reevaluation came up because, everyone, like, in 2018, we all kind of lumped him with sort of the crowd of like young rappers with like very sparse beats and kind of like worryingly misogynistic lyrics, and like we kind of everyone kind of lumped Juice WRLD into that because like he kind of fell into that, but he obviously, like, in retrospect, he obviously wasn't nearly as bad as someone like XXXTentacion, who was there's just straight up an abuser. And, it's not to say that the Kid Laroi will necessarily go down the same path. I highly doubt it, but, I think, like, what Juice WRLD sort of taught everyone is that, we should be a bit more careful about the way we talk about art, and especially how we sort of relate it to the artist, because, obviously, like, separating the art from the artist is a whole entire debate, and sometimes it's, like generally speaking, you can't do that, but, in the case of someone like Juice WRLD, it's worth giving it a little bit more nuance, because sometimes, these lyrics, which may not be very desirable, sometimes there's purpose to it that doesn't necessarily mean that the artist is a bad person themselves, so it's like now when we see someone like the Kid Laroi who is kind of like going off of that playbook, we kind of see someone who's sort of like at the same starting point that someone like Juice WRLD was. So we, or at least I feel more of a desire to sort of like give him credit and, just kind of like give him the benefit of the doubt, I guess, for lack of a better word. But, I still believe that, but it doesn't mean that the song isn't kind of not great. Like, it's just, like, the main bad thing about Without You is that it's just painfully basic, like the sort of, like, basic 4-chord structure, the guitar strumming in the strumming pattern is probably, like, the first strumming pattern I've ever learned when I started playing the guitar when I was 10. So it's, like, it's just painfully basic, and, the lyrics just aren't very inspired at all. It's like, it's just, and, it can't, dude was, like, 17, so it's, like, it's not like, like, everyone has to start somewhere, so it's, like, But like it's still just not a very pleasant experience. Like, yeah, I don't know, just I can't quite put it to words how it is right now, but just it's just painfully basic. So that's really all I can really say about it. Okay, next song, number 4 is Beatbox by Spot Got 'em.
Burn away our carbon beam, knock your legs off.
So this is the song that I'm probably the least proud of putting on here, just because it's such like, I feel like it's the kind of song that, in like 2017, 2018, everyone would have just put it at like the top of their worst lists, like the way they put like Gucci Gang and stuff like that. They're like, oh, this is the death of hip hop. He can't even rap. He's not on beat. He's a mumble rapper. Shit like that. And like, the song, I don't really enjoy the song at all. Like the production, the production and the mixing are just shoddy. Spot Got 'em's not a very charismatic performer. Stuff like that. And like, but it's like, like this dude's like an up and coming rapper. I frankly don't know that much about him. I can't fault a guy for trying to kind of like work at his craft, so it's like, it's kind of low hanging fruit for critics, and I think like the majority of us have kind of moved on from just sort of like mindlessly hating rap, or at least I hope. But like it's just it's not the kind of song I'd really be proud of putting on here, but it's just it's just kind of what it is, like no hard feelings. This is just kind of where the song is. Okay, besties, so I got interrupted last night, so I'm gonna try and start recording again. I don't have the bedroom with me, so I'm recording this in my living room. I'm right outside a playground. There's gonna be cars, there's gonna be crying children. It's just gonna be a reality. Let's just go on with it. So I got stopped at number 3, which was Good Time by Nico Moon.
We just trying to catch a good time.
And so the thing with this song is that, like, okay, this is like where this is sort of where the list starts to become actually like worst list worthy, because all the other songs before were either like, songs that aren't even that bad, or just songs that I feel like don't really deserve this horn. But from here on out, it's kind of like, yeah, it's gonna be like the shit you'd expect from worst lists. So Good Time is an interesting one, because I think this year, like, people have been complaining a lot about sort of like how country's really kind of gone down the shitter this year, especially after last year's weirdly good year. And like, I think most people, like, when people think of that, they mostly attribute it to like, songs like Fancy Like or this, which, like these like really goofy, so almost like post bro country, where it's like, like just these really goofy songs that just make a complete mockery of the genre, to my understanding. And like like I've said my piece before about Fancy Like, and essentially I kind of begrudgingly like, no, I don't even begrudgingly like it, I just kind of like it. I'm just aware of how weird and shitty it is, but it's still like, it's a song I still enjoy. It's like, and like I think like Fancy Like and Good Time are pretty good songs to compare, because they're kind of two peas in a pod essentially, but I feel like they're very different in one key area, which is that Fancy Like seems to be able to have fun, while Good Time just is not able to. Like with Fancy Like, it's dumb, but it's like you can kind of tell that Walker Hayes is at least kind of like doing it a little bit tongue-in-cheek, like he's like, oh, like my baby solo maintenance, we're gonna go to Applebee's, like it, like regardless of how you think about the fun that he's having, like whether you think it's like entertaining or not, it's still fun to some extent. You get the impression that he's having fun with it. But with Good Time, it's like, it sounds like Nico Moon has a gun to his head every line he sings. It's like, every line is just these like you know, like at least with Fancy, like the lines are pretty. It's a pretty creative premise, you know, like, you know, like I love my baby, but she's kind of like she doesn't have very high standards, so I'm gonna like impress her with slightly higher standards. You know, that's at least something. But Good Time is just riddled with just generic country things. It's not even generic country things. It's like they're kind of like generic what you think country is if you're not country things, if that makes any sense. You know, it's all about like fishing and camping and like kind of like roughing it out in the wild or whatever. And it's like it's this image of like of a good time that just feels so like inauthentic to anyone, especially to Nico Moon and like whoever wrote this. Like, and like, you know, like you just get the impression that Nico Moon's just trying his damnedest to sound like even he's like remotely having fun, but he just is not. It's kind of sad, honestly. Like it's like I don't know. It's like it's just this weird caricature of Southern life that just does not, like, you know, even by Nashville standards, it's just such a like it's just not convincing at all, and that's just kind of what bothers me. It's not even like, you know, like even though this is worthless material, but still isn't like the worst thing ever, but it's still like it's just kind of sad, really, you know, like. And you know, like the fact that Nico Moon tries to just force a smile the entire way through, it's just a miserable experience, you know. Okay, number 2 is The Good Ones by Gabby Barrett. So, to get it out of the way, like let's just put aside the obvious joke of what, you know, like who she thinks is a good one, like who this conservative white woman with her like pro cop boyfriend or husband rather, like who they think, you know, is considered like the good ones. You know, putting that aside, this is just another like painfully basic song. Like, you know, like the chord progression's really basic, the production's really not great. And like the main thing that kind of bothers me about this song is just how, you know, like Gabby Barrett has this premise of like, you know, my man's one of the good ones, you know, like I got really lucky or whatever, but she just does not take this anywhere. Like she just kind of goes like, oh, my guy, like he does these things and that thing, and like he's one of the good ones. She just keeps saying it. He's one of the good ones, and she just finds different ways to say it, but she just keeps saying it. And like, you know, it's like, you know, like I don't know, like I feel like with a song like this, you can take it like different directions. You know, you can be like, you know, like you know, like how do you feel about having a good one? How is this like a rare thing? Like what did you go through to find this good one? Did you have any other bad ones that make this good one feel a lot more special? Like, you know, like because, you know, when you just keep saying like, oh, he's a good one, and you just kind of find different ways to paraphrase that, you just kind of almost come across as a bit snobbish, like in a weird way. Like it's not really like, oh, even then, like this still isn't like a terrible song, but it's like, you know, it's like it just kind of feels like she's just kind of rubbing it in our faces, and like it feels like she doesn't really know what's, you know, the struggle of, you know, not to say that she doesn't know the struggle, but in this song, how she conveys it, it just feels like it feels like, you know, like the friend that you kind of hate, and like they're just kind of bragging about something good that's happened, like oh, like, you know, I got this really sweet boyfriend or something else, and like, you know, like you're just kind of like, you just kind of want to die every time they talk about him, just because, like, especially when it's like, you know, they aren't a good one, but you know, that's beside the point. Like it just kind of, it's just kind of annoying to listen to just because it's so lyrically deficient, and combined with the sound of it, which is also just very basic, it just feels like Gabby had a pretty solid premise, but she just didn't take it anywhere. So that's that song. Okay, and I guess we can go through a couple honorable mentions, because that's kind of where this would be if this were like a more solid worst list video. So a few songs I wanted to talk about. One is Peaches by Justin Bieber.
I took my chick up to the north, yeah, badass bitch.
Peaches, it's a good song. Like, the groove is like pleasant. It sounds really nice. Daniel Caesar and Giveon, like, they deserve way better. Like, they're too good of artists to really like make their breakthrough like this, and like they sound great on the song. The main issue is obviously just Justin Bieber himself, and it's mainly the chorus, like just how embarrassing it is, and like I've kind of like talked about like the badass bitch line, like just sort of the way it's not like, I don't think it's racist in and of itself, but it's like, considering all the history and the baggage with Justin, just how he's sort of been co-opting this space for years at this point, and considering like things like the Despacito thing, or his line on Essence, even, that I didn't really even talk about before, just the way he says that one line, the one line, and like it's like, even if he's not necessarily being racist, at this point he doesn't deserve to, like, we'd all be better off if he just stops trying to like do like we'd all be better if he just stops doing these things, just because it's just so uncomfortable, and it's like, he hasn't learned his lesson, like it just keeps happening over and over again in different ways, and it's like, just why do we keep letting him do stuff like this? And it's like, and here, like, the tragedy of it is that it just sullies an otherwise excellent song. Like, I really actually really love the song, but it's just a hard thing to really get over, considering everything, and like it makes me feel like I want to throw up, and like, or rather, like, it just kind of makes, like, that's a bit of a dramatic way to put it, but like like it's just makes me feel kind of uneasy. And it's like the fact that this is in the hook, and the way that the hook is sort of written and structured in the song, it just, you keep hearing it over and over again. Like, this chorus is like I think Todd kind of put it best in his worst list. Like, it's half a chorus. It's like, it's just that one melody line, like that the chorus is just that repeated 4 times, and like it kind of comes in a weird way, and it doesn't really resolve. So it's like, it's just that, and it's like the chorus plays like over and over again in the song, and it's like like more than like a chorus usually would be, and it just, one, it sounds lazy, and 2, it's just it just kind of subjects you to that over and over again. It's like you're being tormented by the sins of Justin Bieber in this song, like you're just kind of trying to have like a good time with Daniel Caesar and Giveon, and it just keeps, just keeps butting in with that over and over again, like, hey, I'm racist, so it's like, and like, it's not to say that this song is racist or anything like that, but it's just, it keeps towing this really uncomfortable line, and it's like, it's like that guy in class who he's you kind of basically know that he's racist, but the thing is, like, he never really does anything that's so, like, he doesn't outright say the N-word or anything like that, but it's like, it's like he'll keep making like kind of weirdly uncomfortable jokes, like, just often enough that it bothers you, but not often enough that it's like something that you can like hold against him. So it's like, you just kind of deal with this guy, and like like you can't do anything about it, but you just know it, and it's like, it's just really unpleasant in a way that is kind of hard to really articulate or really hold them accountable for. That's kind of what Peaches is to me, I guess. So yeah, another song like that I wanted to talk about was Permission to Dance by BTS.
'Cause we don't need permission to dance.
Which, I kind of debated putting on this list just because, this list is mainly just for the year end. I'm not, putting anything else in this, but, if Permission to Dance ended up on the year end charts, then it probably would have been on this list just because, I mainly talked about it in my fall video. Essentially, it's just the cheesiest thing that I think I've ever seen BTS do. And it's the thing about BTS... That was a weird sound. The thing about BTS doing kind of weird, cheesy stuff is that, it just seems really weirdly unnatural for them. The stuff that I'm mainly a fan of BTS for is their, more expressive and kind of, powerful stuff, I guess. It's not that necessarily that they always have to keep it real or shit like that. Experimenting with cheesier stuff and, more poppier stuff is, totally, wonderful. Butter would fall under that category, and that's, one of my favorite songs of the year. And it's, it's just, because I kind of struggled with Dynamite last year, because it's such a sort of chintzy take on 70s disco nostalgia that it was just kind of I'm just not really sure why you would really want to listen to that outside of the context of a commercial jingle or a kids movie. And I don't know, with Dynamite, it's I think to some extent with Permission to Dance as well, part of the appeal is that nostalgia. Sometimes you want to listen to something that really just is that cheesy, and I think that's the comparison I made in my fall video. I think that's also the appeal of early One Direction, for example. That's just kind of a sound that I think a lot of people are familiar with, and sometimes you kind of want to go back to that, and I respect that. But I don't know, with Permission to Dance, it just leans so hard into that one, it kind of becomes a parody of itself, which you might also like, but it's just something about it, it's I think I articulated better in my fall video than I can now, but excuse me, I don't know, essentially it just it's watching BTS do this, it's like watching your favorite rock band wearing Chuck E. Cheese mascots and mascot suits and kind of dancing outside the restaurant and singing their jingle. It's you can tell they're just being held back a lot. It's almost embarrassing, and it's even if they want to do that, even if that's what they're passionate about, it just it just doesn't seem natural for them. It feels like they're being held back, and it's I feel if the goal here is to appeal to the Western market, then it's BTS was already kind of doing that with their music to begin with. Their music has always been pretty pretty influenced by Western pop and hip hop, and it's that's what fans fell in love with in the first place. So it's ARMY talks a lot about how versatile and deep they are, and it's why don't they bring that? Why do they feel the need to dumb themselves down so much for the Western market? They can just do what they've always been doing, just sing it in English, and you'll be good, and it's frankly, a lot of the game is just about marketing anyway. So it's if you put your faith into whatever song you want properly, you can make anything a hit. If Life Goes On had the promotion that Butter had, that would have been a hit too. And I'm not saying necessarily that Life Goes On should be all the music that they should make from now on, but it's I'm just saying that BTS doesn't have to dumb themselves down for this. We're far past the era where in order for an international artist to make it in the West, they have to really appeal to the market. They can just do whatever they want and people will listen to them. That's kind of why people have been listening to them in the first place. So it's Dynamite is one thing, it's their first foray into the American market, like intentionally. And you know, like if that's the sound that they're gonna go for the first time, like, you know, that's cool. But and like, you know, Butter was a reassuring sort of step in the right direction, because it seemed like, you know, they're gonna make a song that's less like, oh, this is like an American song that we're gonna appeal to America, and it's more like just a great pop song, like in its own right. So Permission to Dance, like, you know, because Permission to Dance was like a B-side to Butter technically, and like, but I guess maybe they were just trying something, like, you know, like Butter was sort of the experiment, and then like Permission to Dance would have been like, oh, like we're gonna do this if Butter doesn't really take off. But like, you know, like Butter did, so it's like I'm not really sure what they were doing there. So it's like Permission to Dance is just a weird thing, and I kind of hope that they don't really go for it again, because like, you know, one time it's cute, second time it's just weird. If they go for it for a third time, like they're absolutely just wasting their time, you know. So it's like I kind of hope that this doesn't really happen again. Okay, so let's move on to our number one, which is Arcade by Duncan Lawrence. So this is like I had no idea what the song was before I heard about it, like before I listened to the year end. Like I vaguely heard about it, but it wasn't, yeah. And like this song is in number one just because like it's sort of like the, you know, like this is like very much the, like it seems like every year we get a song, at least one song like this that's like, you know, in the vein of like Say You Won't Let Go, or Someone You Loved, or like Let It Be by James Bay. You know, like that kind of like adult contemporary pop, X Factor, Eurovision, like just drag of a song. Like, and I think like Arcade's not like the worst like example of that, because I think like to this day I think Say You Won't Let Go is still like the reigning king of that awful like sound. Like James Arthur is just awful. Like just he deserved all the backlash that Someone You Loved got, you know. But anyway, like Arcade is not the worst in that regard, just because like, you know, like at least Duncan Lawrence is an all right singer, and like it's not a very long song either, so it's like at least from what I remember. So it's like it's not really the worst, but I think like what this song does, it's kind of like, it's like the one thing is like, I swear the, you know, like the sort of like screaming millennial hook, I mean millennial whoop hook, like I swear I've heard that before somewhere, like that exact like like I've heard that before. I swear to God I've heard that somewhere before. Like it just does not sound and it's like, even if I haven't, you know, like it just sounds so generic, and like it doesn't mean anything, you know, at this point. Like, and you know, like this is just a sound that I think we really need to leave in the past at this point, because I don't know who really likes this stuff at this point. It just feels like such a relic of like the 2010s, like the mid 2010s specifically, like, you know. And the song also kind of just doesn't really like sound like the lyrics just aren't great either, you know. Just the idea of like kind of just kind of leading into this whole arcade metaphor pretty heavily, and like I don't know, just like I put this at the top of the list just because I didn't want to put like one of the country songs or like Beatbox or whatever on the top of this list, because I feel like they don't really deserve it as much. Like, you know, it's like, I don't know, like it's like with the country songs, it's like everyone has been kind of like kind of railing against them, and it's like, you know, I don't do this to be contrarian, but you know, sometimes I'm just like, you know, you don't really deserve this. Like there's like bigger fish to fry, essentially, and like I guess this is the bigger fish, just because like I feel like it's like I haven't seen as many people really rail on this, but you know, it like this song deserves it, just because it's like you know what you're doing, and it like like, can you just try harder, you know? So yeah, I don't know, like you see what I mean with this list? Like this overall, like none of these songs are like horrible, you know? Like sure, I had a lot to say about some of these, but it's like, I don't know, it's just like, I'm thinking back to like last year's list, like, okay, I actually don't remember what that was, never mind. I don't know, it's like, not like, most of these songs are like 2 out of 5s at worst. Actually, no, pretty much all of these songs are like 2 out of 5s at worst. So it's like, it's not really I don't know, like, I think I'll like, hopefully next year I do make like a proper worst list video, because like, you know, I want to take a stab at it, you know, like I feel like it would be interesting for me to like kind of like see how I go about this kind of thing, because, you know, I think a lot of people sort of complain about how like worst lists like really spread negativity for no reason, and like, I think to some extent that's true, but I think that's not necessarily inherent to the worst list format. It's just sort of like a matter of how you sort of tackle it. And I don't know, like I feel like it's worth kind of like analyzing things critically while, you know, like sort of figuring out a way to make it, you know, entertaining at the very least, or just like, you know, like at least like appropriately toned, I guess. Like, I don't know. So, but yeah, I guess for now that's the 2021 worst list. Look forward to the best list. That will hopefully be a much more, like, I'm in the middle of writing the script for that. I don't know when it'll really be out. I'm hoping that it'll probably be out in like January. Hopefully during the first half of that, but, you know, like, I think of my like, you know, like considering like, you know, like all my real life responsibilities and stuff, I think, you know, like it might be like until like the end of January, but hopefully like I'll get it out like within like the first half of the month. The script writing is going pretty well, so hopefully and I'll be relatively free until the end of the year, so hopefully I can at least get some editing done by then. So, you know, hopefully it'll get done soon. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this little experiment. I hope this isn't too boring for you. I guess I'll find out during the editing process if there even is one. Yeah.